Good morning and welcome back to a long overdue Lone Angler podcast. I am your host, Patrick. I hope all of you that are listening to this are having a fantastic Monday morning. This weekend turned out to be pretty gross for northern Minnesota, but at the same time, we are in November, so it's kind of expected a little bit. I mean, but Sunday, the wind picked up here. It got pretty wild. Yeah, there was a little bit of snow, like 40-mile-an-hour winds. Matter of fact, my stupid weather app was indicating some heavy or intense wind warnings. I don't know. I did venture out of the Goblin's Den, though, which is something that I need to start doing big time. I realize that. Friday, I'm going to rewind a little bit. We'll go back to Friday after work. I needed to go grocery shopping. So I ran down to Wally World, aka the Walmarts. Got to do what you got to do, right? And I forgot that it is Minnesota deer hunting season opener that started Saturday morning. And I went to Walmart. It was like, I don't know, noon 30, 1 o'clock, something like that. And everything started out okay until I got deeper into the grocery section. And man, I had what I think was a panic attack. I was just, all of a sudden I found myself like surrounded by people and I was trying to get through and it was like I didn't even exist. And I kind of fucking freaked out a little bit. I managed to get out of the aisle because it felt like it was closing in on me. And I found some secluded spot in the store and just had to chill out. It was bizarre. And it's kind of hit me kind of hard. I don't know, man. Something's going on with me. And I think the joke of being held up in the Goblin's Den and stuff has become kind of a reality. I think I need to get out a little bit more. Never had anything like that happen to me. It was kind of weird. It was definitely kind of weird. But with that being said, you know, I managed to finish everything out and I got the hell out of there. And I did exactly what I shouldn't have done, is just come back home and hold it up till the next day. But yeah. It's a work in progress. I'm always a work in progress. Had a little gym time. That was good but bad at the same time. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw the story. And I usually don't put that kind of stuff out there, but I don't know. I just did for some reason. And I felt like I just needed to get it off my chest. And so I did. And if you want to go find me there on Instagram and check that out, I won't repeat what I said here. You can just go there and watch the videos, I guess. I think they're still up on my stories. Or those disappear after a little bit. Maybe I will just give you a quick recap then. Now that I think about it, yeah. Those are probably gone now. They aren't a permanent thing. Anyway, I was doing my workout and it was, lower body, leg day, as they say in the gym culture, and which I kind of look forward to it, but this time things were different. And again, I had this like disappointment just wash over me, and it was hard. It was really hard. And I've lost like close to 80 pounds, somewhere between 75 and 80 pounds. And I don't really spend a lot of time on the scale. I weigh in like once a week or something like that, once every 2 weeks. But I was working out my legs, and when it came to leg extensions, I just couldn't hardly do anything. Like 30 pounds. That's for both legs. So 15 pounds on each leg. And they were just, it hurt. My legs were shaking, especially my right leg. and I have no cartilage in my knees. And it was just a real downer. And so I finished out my sets on that. And then I went over to leg curls, which that was seemed to be better. It seemed to be a little bit better. Did my sets there. And then I went over to the leg press, where you lay on your back and you just press up the plate. And I could do like 110 pounds. That was it. Again, shaking of the legs and all that kind of stuff. It was disheartening. I used to have like mega strong legs, and I don't know, I'm pretty sure it's the arthritis in my knees. That and just a combination of not working out. But I used to just be really naturally strong in the legs. So it was kind of a weird. Afterwards, I felt really disappointed with everything. And I'm not trying to downplay the work that I've put in on getting healthier or anything like that, and that I had like these wild expectations. But I did have some expectations. I'm not going to lie to you about that. I thought that by now I would feel better and things would work better, especially my knees. And they really don't. It's not going to deter me from, getting to where I want to be. But it's just a little mental setback. And I guess I just gotta fire on through that. But we'll make it. We'll make it. And for those of you that saw my Instagram story, I apologize for repeating it. So, but we're going to move on. We're going to move on from there. And my notebook is upside down. There we go. We got it straightened out. I got a little lone angler sip of water. The classic. Here we go. The beverage of choice for this episode is a strawberry sparkling water from Waterloo. Not a sponsor. I don't even need to say that. They've never heard of me. Anyway, so let's see, last weekend, I believe Halloween weekend. Yeah, last weekend was the 3rd annual Smackdown Outdoors ice fishing virtual ice fishing show. And 3rd annual. Yeah, I went down and stayed in a nice little place in Blaine, Minnesota. We were holed up in the newly remodeled conference room at Thorne Bros. And we did the show all weekend. Myself, Full Scale Outdoors, that would be Dale Luganbill, and of course, Smackdown Outdoors, Doug Glimmerveen. And it was a great time. I want to just take this opportunity to thank the sponsors of this 3rd annual show, which would have been Thorne Brothers. Thank you for sponsoring and putting up with us for the long days there and the great room and just letting us do our thing. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you to a Glacier Ice House for supporting the ice fishing community like you do. I really, 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 really appreciate that. And thank you to Clam. Clam Outdoors has been there since the beginning, as well as Thorne Brothers and Glacier. And it was awesome. So thank you guys for your support. And I want to thank Doug and Dale for another great weekend hanging with the homies, man. It's always fun, and it's a little nerve-wracking, not gonna lie. Just when you're dealing with the internet, somebody else's Wi-Fi, things can go crazy without any warning. And again, third annual show, nothing super tragic happened. A little behind the scenes was right from the get-go. The first up for the first hour of the show was Matt Johnson from Clam Outdoors. And Matt is a true professional, awesome dude. He's a great guy to have open the show, open the long weekend for us. And he does his thing so well. And so he's going through his spiel, and he's over at another ice show in the Adrenaline Arena over in Ramsey, Minnesota, just across town a little bit. And all of a sudden, he's moving around, and all of a sudden we can hear what sounds like static. And Matt's doing his thing, and we're kind of like looking around, looking at the board, checking connections. We're on our phones looking at Wi-Fi strengths and all this kind of stuff. And we're just like, where is this coming from? And Matt said he could hear us just fine and whatnot. And we're just scrambling. And this went on for a good 5-6 minutes. And then we saw something in the background. Yes, they have a little trout pond at this ice fishing show where you can, pay a couple bucks and it goes towards youth programs and you have the opportunity to catch yourself a trout. And we noticed that as he got closer, the static got louder. Well, turns out it wasn't static, but it was them filling the trout pond with water, which was kind of a relief on our end. Because sometimes, you got to check out of the StreamYard and come back in, and the audio will come back to life, just magically. It's weird. And that happens from time to time. So that we had a big sigh of relief and a little bit of a chuckle after that one. The running water in our headphones sounded exactly like static electricity. It was pretty wild. But some of the other behind the scenes there is, we go for we chunk the show out in blocks, and you're welcome to watch the show. It is up on Smackdown Outdoors YouTube page. It's also, I think, Saturday and Sundays episode or shows are on the Lone Angler YouTube page. I know we streamed to there as well, but yeah, we do this in blocks. And then this year was kind of nice because we had a little bit longer breaks in between blocks. And so Dale and I, we kind of, after sitting at a table for, 4 hours or whatever, when it's break time, we all kind of disperse. Love each other to death, homies for life, but you just kind of need your time away. So I would either dip on over to the fly angler, which I'll get into that here in a little bit, or Dale and I just happen to get hungry, man. So this may may come off as kind of a little bit of a shock to you, but that Halloween weekend, the weekend of the virtual ice fishing show, I was able to have Five Guys for the first time and Chipotle for the first time. I know, you're probably like, damn, dude, what a sheltered life. Yeah, I guess so. We just don't have those things here in Bemidji. We just don't. Wonderful stuff, though. Was able to get myself a nice burger. It was a little bit expensive, but the taste and quality of the burger was fantastic at Five Guys. And then Chipotle, I had a burrito bowl. Super good. Loved every minute of it. Thursday night, I actually went down Thursday. Thursday night, I had a little meal by myself, and I went to the Old Piper Inn, got myself a little 10-inch pizza, which old Patrick would have just destroyed that thing. 10-inch pizza, not a problem. Dude, things have changed with me, obviously. I was able to get down not even a third of it, maybe a quarter of it, and I was full. So I ended up snacking on that in the evenings when I scurried back to the hotel room. But yeah, and then we all, after lunch or after breaks, we all kind of convene and get ready and do another block, But big shout out to Doug Glimmerveen. I mean, the dude knows his audio video stuff like nobody else. It's quite impressive. There's a lot to it, man. All the equipment we used was his, except for we ended up using my board for some reason, which is totally fine. I always bring down my podcasting equipment because, like I said, you never know when shit goes south. It's good to have backups, but cameras and multiple cameras, and then switchers to go with it. And Doug just does a hell of a job running that show, man. Guy's got mad skills. props to him, man. Very, very good. Very, very good. And it's always a treat to hang out with Dale. You know, Dale and I do a lot of the unhooks together, and we're just two of the same kind of dudes when it comes to mindset. I'm getting some text messages here. My boy Alex from work, he's chiming in. I'm going to put the old Apple Watch here on Silencio because, you can probably hear that. But now, let's take a look. I'm just going to pull them up on, just a little text message. Not a big deal. Anyway, distracted there. My cat is just passed out, sleeping on a hoodie of mine. Unreal. Love this thing, but it's a pain in the ass. Thinks everything is a freaking toy. The strings on my hoodie, the strings for the blinds in the windows. Caught this damn thing up on the fly tying table, which really pisses me off. But I think she's got it figured out that she shouldn't be up there. Because I'll tell you what, you start messing with that stuff. I just have nightmares of coming home from work and there is feathers and bucktail and shit everywhere. I would lose my mind. And I know that I should, put my stuff away. I get that part. But at the same time, this is how I look at it. I've been living here and doing that years before she came along. She needs to adapt to my lifestyle. It may sound kind of selfish and whatnot, but at the end of the day, I'm a human being. That's a cat. I love the cat. She's awesome. But I think it's wise for her to adapt to my living situation. That's just how I feel about it. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? We'll figure it out. But back to the ice fishing show. Some highlights that I took away from this year's virtual ice fishing show were, I wrote down 3 things that I thought were really cool. And the first one up was Amped Outdoors came out with these USB charging deals. They're just like a little accessory for your fish house. And I think it's pretty damn genius. Go to their website and check those out. It's just one of those little like $25 deals that once you have it, you'll be like, oh my God, I need a few more of these things and I'm set for life. Very cool. This little USB adapters to keep cameras and phones and all that kind of stuff charged up. Very basic, very simple. Super cool product. Number 2 that I wrote down was Eskimos ice fishing apparel. Now, I used to be affiliated with Eskimo. I stepped away from my contract before last season. I just needed to get my life under control and my health under control, and they were super cool. I still love Eskimo products. Their shelters are top-notch, innovative in design. First one's out with cool features like full doors on pop-ups, which is now being implemented into other brands. But the one thing that really has stood out in the last couple of years, and then this year for sure, 100%, is their apparel. And in my opinion, I think it's some of the finest apparel out there on the market. It really looks good on and off the ice. And I think off the ice is just as important as on the ice. It's warm, it's durable, but even off the ice, it just looks nice. You can wear it out, for an occasion, and you don't look like an ice fisherman. If that's what you want, Eskimo's got you covered there. It's just very nice looking stuff. It's not loud. You've got a lot of earth tones, your blacks, your grays, wool-like material. Logos are small, inconspicuous. It's not loud camouflage or anything crazy like that. It really looks fantastic on and off the ice. Really, really impressed. Eskimo and Sarah, that is designing the apparel, fantastic stuff. I'm probably going to pick up a few pieces over the winter here and there myself. third thing, and I don't own a pop-up, and I've kicked around the idea of getting like an Eskimo Outbreak 2500, just this small one. I've thought about it, still kind of on the fence about it. But if I do, this product from Deep Freeze really caught my attention, and that is their Easy Anchors. And it works with the Easy Auger chuck adapter. It uses a 7/16 quick disconnect. And what's beautiful about that is if you have this quick disconnect adapter in your drill, these anchors work with that. It doesn't clip on. You just put them over top, and it's got a 7/16 hex head on the top of this screw. And then it also has the T, so you can take it out by hand if you want, or, tie it off. But you just set it on there, push down, and boom, you're in. There's no extra piece to try to hook on or anything like that. Go to deepfreeze.com and check it out. It's just really cool. If you own a pop-up and you need to anchor it down, I think this is a fantastic anchoring system. Super easy, super fast. You're not fumbling around with the drill chuck or trying to screw things in by hand. It's really, really awesome stuff. My phone is kind of buzzing and making all kinds of a ruckus here. Let me check it out. Oh my gosh. Oh, a couple of Snapchats. Deer season, man. Deer season in Minnesota, and the old Snapchat's just on fire. Big bucks. I don't deer hunt. I'm going to tell you a little story. So I'll be 49 in January. So I'm going to do some math here real quick. Let me find a pencil. I'm just going to do some math. Oh, okay. So that was quick. Could have did it in my head, but I don't want to. So about 35 years ago, not to the day, but close, I was, 14 years old or so. I had to have a really hard conversation with my father. My dad was a big whitetail hunter. He enjoyed hunting and trapping more than he did fishing. He liked to fish, but he wasn't as hardcore about fishing as I am. He was more into the hunting. And I had gone out with him for a couple of years, I started when I was 12, did that, 13, coming on 14. And I just didn't like it. And I would sit in the deer blind or up in a stand, and I would just think about all the fishing opportunities. And I really just wasn't into deer hunting. And so I had to have that conversation with my dad. And my dad's a super cool dude. I think he was a little bit bummed out. Just a little bit. It's a father-son thing. But he also understood. And he's always been super supportive of me and my fishing addiction, if you will. But it was just a hard conversation. Like I said, I just didn't like it. I thought about fishing a lot. I don't like the taste of venison. And that just opens up a can of worms because I hear that a lot. Well, you got to have, do this and do that and do this. And to me, it just seems like a lot of work to make it not taste like venison. But I just don't like the taste of venison. And so there's no reason for me to hunt them. I used to love duck hunting, but it got to the point where I was having a hard time giving away duck meat. And I don't like duck either. So I just was like, there's no sense in me killing these things if I'm not going to eat them and I'm having a hard time giving away the fruits of my labor. So I kind of quit duck hunting. It was super fun though. Duck hunting was wild, man. I love that. Matter of fact, when I was duck hunting, we could still use lead. And just as I was contemplating getting out of it came the steel shot law. And that helped push me over the edge of, all right, forget this, because steel shot at the time was new and it was like super expensive. So that was a much needed push, I guess. So there's me and hunting. And then what I did enjoy as far as hunting goes was small game. Rabbits, grouse, did a little squirrel hunting, woodcock, that kind of stuff. And I enjoy eating rabbits and grouse and woodcock. So, and I've had a little bit of squirrel. Yeah, it's not bad. Make a nice stew out of it. But I preferred the small game hunting, which I haven't done in probably, I would say a good 20 years. This fishing has consumed me. Man, my winter is definitely here. My voice or my throat is drying out bad. That can is almost done. So yeah, we're kind of all over the map. That's just how my brain works. But we're going to dive back down to Thorne Bros because I want to talk about the fly angler and some of the beautiful things I discovered over my 3 days of shopping. That's right, 3 days. So Thursday, when I got down there, I helped Doug do a little bit of setup stuff, a few testing things, and we're pretty much done. So I had the rest of the afternoon, I had a couple hours. So I went over there and introduced myself again and said, hey, I'm Patrick. I'm Lone Angler Podcast. I'm here, going to be working all weekend doing this virtual ice fishing show. I plan on doing a little purchasing here. And they said, well, why don't you take this basket, put items in there throughout the next few days you're going to be here. And at the end, we'll get you hooked up, checked out, and you'll be on your merry way to the fly tying bench. So that's exactly what I did. And I think it was Friday night. This is kind of funny. The show, we went on our break. I think we went on our break at like 5 o'clock, and we were going to break until 6:30. I believe that's what it was. And then we're going to come back and finish out the show. And naturally, I scooted right across the walkway. Boom, found myself in the fly angler, and I'm looking at stuff. And I made a big list in my notebook of materials and stuff for patterns that I wanted to tie and what I would need to tie those patterns. And I'm walking around in the fly angler. All the lights are on, but nobody's coming out to say hi or help me out or anything like that. I really didn't need much help, but there's usually somebody up there. And I'm walking around, and I've got my basket's behind the counter. So I'm just walking around with a handful of beads and some hooks and whatnot. And I said to myself, this is really weird. Nobody's come out yet. I don't think anybody's up here. And I happen to look around, and over the balcony, you can see the rest of the store. Well, it's pitch black. Yeah, Thorne Bros is closed. But I'm wandering around up there, just pulling stuff off the shelf and holding on to it and whatnot. So I kind of panicked because I didn't know if there was a silent alarm or something, or somebody, was going to show up and be like, what are you doing, man? You got to stay over there. So I just quickly chucked that stuff in the basket, went back and chilled out, waited for the show to start again. So the next day, doing the show, we're on our first break, store's open. I go over there, I tell them what's up, and they kind of chuckled a little bit, and they said, well, we left the light on for you. I was like, man, really? That's really nice, dude. Really nice. The guys up there at the Fly Angler are cool people, man. And what a treat. What a treat to be in a store like that that's, just fly fishing stuff. We don't have that here in Bemidji. And I don't expect anybody to start a fly fishing shop here in Bemidji because as far as I can tell, there isn't a need for it really. But it is a little bit frustrating for a guy that's just learning how to do things in a completely new world to, I can go on the internet and find this stuff, but I'm the kind of person that needs to like physically hold the material, physically see it with my own eyes, see if it's going to work for me. That's how I learn about things like that. So, internet shopping, I kind of save that for restocking stuff that I'm familiar with right now. So until I get better, it's kind of nice to be in a shop like that. And those guys were just super helpful. They even gave me a free fly. That's pretty badass. Little Clouser minnow. Said it was killer for spring crappie, which It does look killer. And I ended up buying the materials to kind of replicate that, maybe in some different colors, because we got pretty clear water up here. I like to tie a lot of white, or I try to mimic like a small shiner. A lot of white, so a little bit of gray, and it's got some reflective material in it. So picked up that kind of stuff. I found some really cool, big, huge 5.5 millimeter beads for some ice fishing jigs that I've got planned out. And then I bought some stuff for making streamers. That's my big project for the winter, I think, is to learn how to tie up some streamers. I dabbled a little bit last winter. It's a lot harder than you think. And that's one thing that I've discovered watching YouTube, fly tying tutorials on YouTube. They just make it look so easy, and I have to remind myself, these guys have many, many, many years of tying under their belt. And what looks easy is not easy for a guy that's just starting out. But we've got a long winter ahead, and I plan on making one more stop down at the Fly Angler, probably when Ellen flies in, if the weather isn't super crazy here around Christmas time. I think I'm going to stop in there with her. And she's expressed interest. She watched me fly fish a little bit last year out of the tube, and she thought it was cool. And I don't know if she listens to this podcast or not, but Dad might have a fly rod for you. It might be being built. Yeah, I know a guy that's working on one for you. I'm going to finish off this water. God, winter, dry skin, dry everything. It's really happening. Speaking of winter. Well, no, we're going to hold on a second. I got a little bit ahead of myself. And, I was talking about fly fishing. And in my fly tying and fly fishing journey, I have come across some products or some tools per se that I used a little bit in the few times I went out ice fishing last year, and they worked out awesome. And I've discovered that there's a little bit of crossover between fly fishing and ice fishing. Now, hear me out. I'm an out of the box kind of thinker. Okay. So I'm always on the lookout. I can see multiple uses for the same thing. And last year, I found online from a company called CNF Design. They're kind of big in the fly fishing world, but they make little tiny threaders. And what a threader is, it's just this little wire loop form deal that you put through the eyelet on your fly to pull your tippet through. Well, like I said earlier, I'm 49 years old, so the old eyeballs just aren't what they used to be, and I don't want to have a pair of cheaters dangling around my neck when it's, 0 outside. So I picked up these threaders, and along with those threaders came nippers that are kind of nestled. No, those are nestled in the tweezers, which I'll get to in a second. But it came with some nippers, some line cutter, little nipper things, and then it also came with a pair of tweezers, and that threader is nested in the middle of the tweezers, so it's kind of handy, and it flips out. So now I can take and push that threader through the eyelet on my ice jig, drop my 3-pound mono through there, pull it through, good to go. No more having to one eye, tongue out of the corner of the mouth, try to get it threaded. Okay, it works out really well. The little plastic tweezers, I believe those are designed for like picking up little tiny like size 18 midges and stuff out of your fly box. What I've found them good for is grabbing my P3 plastics out of my containers, because they've got, what do they call it? Anise oil. I think that's how you pronounce it. They're oily. They're slippery. They're small. I got big fingers. The container that I have, little circular deal with lids on it, it's hard for me to just grab one. So on my lanyard, I have these little plastic, they're pretty heavy duty little tweezers, and it works out really, really well. So all of that is on a lanyard. Plus I've got a couple of hookouts on there, and my I got a UV flashlight for charging those glow jigs. So that threader from CNF Design with the pliers or the tweezers and the little nippers, awesome little kit. Worked out great on the ice last year. Works great in open water. Going to use it again for ice fishing this winter. But I picked up at the Fly Angler there on that Halloween weekend. Fish Pond makes these. They're called. I had to look them up because I took the tags off them. Were fly pucks, and they're made from this TPU material, which is kind of like a vinyl material. They're heavy duty. I picked up 2 of them, and my first thought wasn't to put flies in, but I think they're going to be my new waxworm container. That's for sure. I think that's 100%. And why? Well, because it doesn't screw on. The lid doesn't screw on. It's just a press fit, and it's kind of spongy. But the lid is attached to the puck body itself. So you can just slip this lid off there, and you don't have that separate screw-on lid. And that hinge also makes a little loop in the back, so I can attach that to my ice fishing lanyard. So I can keep them around the old neck. I think it's going to work out pretty handy. I picked up 2 of them. We'll see. They're waterproof. They're heavy duty, and you can see through them, which is kind of nice. They're not much bigger. They're actually a little bit bigger than the bait, the plastic bait pucks that we all have. I don't know, 14 or 15 of them laying around all over the place. They're about the same size, maybe a little bit bigger. They're not insulated. Not that they really have to be, because I always keep if I'm going to be using waxworms or maggots or whatever, I always keep them in my hoodie pocket. I still use meat every once in a while. I still, there are leaks that plastic just does not yield fish. And I don't know why. There's some lakes where that's all the fish want are plastics. So I always carry both with me. And who knows, the other bait puck might just end up with a bunch of P3 plastics in it. Which, hey, you know what? I should, let's do that. Big thank you to Panfish Pursuers P3 Plastics for supporting the Lone Angler podcast. Really appreciate it, guys. I don't know, we're 2 years deep, and you guys are fantastic. So, if you're looking for some really top-of-the-line plastics, head on over to p-3plastics.com. They've got all the colors and lifelike profiles. Most of the profiles that they have mimic some sort of invertebrate that bluegills and crappies feed on in the wintertime. Absolutely. And you know what? There'll be a code for discount in the description of this podcast. Check out the Lone Angler Pro Pack, too, by the way. That's right. Which those guys kind of chuckled, because I always pick the biggest plastics that they have. Panfish up here just eat big, man. They eat real big. And I just saw on their Instagram, too, if you guys are looking to get into the whole schoolie game, they've got a pile of them. And they got the cool schoolie knobs. Makes it a little bit bigger profile, easier to winch those pie plates in. So p-3plastics.com. Head on over there and check them out. Get your order in now. Don't be the last minute fisherman that we all are. Don't order them, 3 days before you're going to head out on your first trip. Get that order in now. So, but, and then the last little thing here that I found that I haven't picked up yet, but I'm going to. Very common in the fly fishing world, but I think it would work out really, really well on the ice too. And that is a fly fishing chest pack. Fish Pond makes one. There's a lot of companies that make them. Sims make them, and they vary. They vary from $30 up to $200. Probably not gonna get the $200 one. If I do, it'll be mostly for the flow tube, because it's got a spot in the back between your shoulder blades where you can keep a net. Probably not something you're gonna want to take with you ice fishing. But just a simple little chest pack, and what's cool about them is they unzip and they fold down, and you have this little mini table that like sits in front of you. I think it'd be a really cool way to organize your ice fishing gear. Plus, it'd be right handy, always with you. You don't have to dig through your pockets and look for stuff. So, yeah, just, even if you went to Amazon and just Googled fly fishing chest pack, They've got a pile of them there from some weird brands if you wanted to not spend a pile of money and just to try it out. Be something kind of cool. So there's a little bit of crossover stuff. Well, plus Euro nymph jigs pretty much are ice fishing jigs. And that's what I've been tying up. Just making myself some weird Euro nymph jigs, but I'm going to be using them for ice fishing. And I may have used them this summer and they work pretty freaking good. And the cool part is you can tie them up on barbless hooks, which I think is fantastic, especially for ice fishing. And in my summer fishing with them, I lost just as many fish as I would have with a barb on them. But it's just a hell of a lot easier to get the hook out, especially when your fingers are frozen, man. Golly, nothing's worse. Man. But, yeah, so there's a little bit of what's been going on here at the Lone Angler. I know it's been, I think, October 12th is when I dropped the latest Unhooked with Dale, which was a lot of fun, by the way. All about the zombie apocalypse. So if you want a good chuckle and some food for thought, if you will, go check out that episode. Another thing I thought I would talk about or give you guys an update on is my fishing journal. And I'll tell you what, this has been absolutely a joy to do. And now going into it, I thought, Patrick, you're going to just not really get into it. And you might get a handful of entries in there. And I could see myself, after a long day of fishing with Crafty, which can be absolutely mind numbing at times. And just downright, you get home and you're like, what am I doing with my life? Anyway, that's a whole nother podcast. Quite the opposite has happened. I have not missed a day of journaling. Let me rephrase. I'm not journaling every day. I'm just journaling my fishing outings. And I haven't missed an outing. I've journaled every one of them. And I thought I would just give you a little update as to where I'm at. So when I started this journal, it was April 1st was my first entry. And first fishing outing of 2022. Still have ice on the lakes in the Bemidji area, and this was also my fourth ice fishing outing since the ice formed in late November of 2021. And that day, Crafty and I went out and we were looking for panfish, and it was awesome. And I caught 17 fish that day. But here's what's interesting about this journal and where it's taken shape. My synopsis or my little rundown of the day is like just a little under half the page, and then it goes into the data part of it. And then if I jump all the way up to, let me take a look here, captivating media. I would say probably around the 8th trip or so. And this is one with Ellen. Yeah, July 2nd. Things started to change in the old journal here. The summary of the day got longer with less data. And that's kind of how it's been. I thought going into this that I would want a really data heavy journal. So, water temps, wind direction, air temperature, cloud cover, sky, description of the sky, all this kind of stuff, where the fish were at and all this and that. And some of that I've kept air temp, water temp. But for the most part, it's just turned into more of talking about the day and then just a little bit of what I think is fun data. So the one fun part about the data here that I have is total fish caught in 2022. And if I flip back to the first outing on April 1st, I caught 17. And then we scoot to trip number 20. That's right. I did 20 open water trips. and for a total of 291 fish. Now that my open water fishing has stopped, waiting for that ice to form, I might go back through this and write a page just kind of summarizing the number of species, the number caught of each species, kind of break down that part of it. I think that'll be fun. But it's just interesting to look back on this and read about, or just to notice how the thought process changed from a data heavy fishing journal to more of fun, whimsical writing and a summary of the day, and trying to document the highs and lows of the day, the laughs and the disappointments. And I think that's just the way it's taken shape, and it'll probably continue to go. So, with just 20 entries into this thing, and this, I don't know how many pages are in this book. They're not numbered, but there's enough in here for probably 5 to 7 years. And that's probably what I'll do. I'll just continue until this one is full. And when this journal is full, however many years that is, I'm going to hand it over to the Padawan, Miss Ellen Ray. She can look back on this and try to read my handwriting and laugh and correct all the spelling errors if she likes. But, so yeah, my next entry will be number 21, and it'll be first ice. And, we will see what day that happens. So if you're interested about journaling, I did a podcast with Joel Nelson, just scroll through, and he was the one that was very inspirational on doing this journaling. And like I said before, I've dabbled with a digital version of this, but there's just something about putting a pen to piece of paper. It's just a little more intimate for me. I like that. I think it's cool. So, if you're looking just to document your stuff, try journaling. It's super fun. I really, really dig it. And I'm hoping to not only, continue on with this and I'll document my first ice, but I'm kind of thinking about taking a little trip this winter. I want to go to Alabama, and I want to go fish with Sarah Parvin in the Slab Lab. I've never caught a copper nose bluegill, and she grows absolute giants. And just following on Instagram and chatting back and forth and stuff, I think it would be a really good time. And what a cool setting. I think it would be a nice break from winter, and just to get out there and see the open water again. So I'm kind of sort of planning things out. I still got to talk to Sarah and formulate some sort of half-ass plan of when it would be a good time and all the logistics of it. But I've never taken a plane anywhere to go fishing. So I think that would be super cool. It's definitely a bucket list thing, and I'm hoping to cross that off this winter. And then, some other, I've got my local plans too. I'm going to concentrate. I say this every year, but it's just hard, man. I don't have a sled, and the last few years, the lakes have been pretty tough to drive around on. But I just want to keep my eye on catching a big ass perch, just some absolute jumbos. And I've been putting out some feelers. I've got a few leads on some good spots, and we're going to see if that happens. And then just keep hunting down giant bluegills. That's the name of the game for old Patrick here this winter coming up. I think it'll be fun. We'll see how many times I get out there. I'm actually kind of excited for ice fishing. We'll see what happens. I'm open to going a bunch of times, and I'm also open to going once or twice. Who knows? I may continue to take a break from it for a little bit, or I might just dive headfirst, all back in, guns a-blazing. We'll find out. We will definitely find out. Oh my gosh. I don't know. Just lost in thought right there. just like I said, there's a little bit of excitement for ice fishing. And with that, I'm sitting here and right next to me is my guide light sled that took me years to find, and I used it last year and I absolutely love it. It's going to dictate the weather, the type of weather I'm going to ice fish in for the most part. And that's where the idea of getting like an Eskimo Outbreak 250 pop-up, just a small pop-up, kind of come in handy. I could use this little guy, sit inside of there, be nice and warm. Then the other part of me is kind of wanting to get a new flip over. I don't know. It's just, I live in an apartment downtown and it's just tough to store that stuff and hauling it up and down the steps, or, there's always the option of keeping it at Crafty's house, which that dude has so much shit. I feel bad if I leave a monster can sitting over there. Could always rent a storage unit, but those are a pain in the ass. So I don't know, but the guide light sled, I actually put my little, plastic tractor seat cover thing on top of it and gave her a sit here in the living room. And, I'm a little bit lighter than I was when I first got it, so it was a little more comfortable. But I'm just kind of staring at it, and being I'm a guy that tinkers, I've got some ideas. Last year, when I first got it, I just left it plain the way it came to me, which is in beautiful shape. But I have the 2B ice rod bags, which I absolutely love. They really protect your gear nice. They're a great bag. But it was kind of a pain in the ass to carry those with this guide light. So I've come up with some ideas to make I don't know what you'd call it, kind of a rack, if you will, so that I could put those on the little sled and they'd be out of my way. I'd still be able to use it, but I wouldn't have to try to stuff them someplace and, have them fall out and all that kind of stuff. So I've got that. I've got an idea for that, for storing those on there for transport. And then I've kicked around the idea of running a ram mount off the front of this thing and using that for the old Vex. Kind of kicking it around. Now my Vexlar is on a modified blue box that I tinkered with, and I put a ram mount on there. Thank you, Matt Waldron, for the inspiration. I absolutely love it because I can adjust it exactly how I want. But that would make it for easy all right, well, taking out the guide light, I just unscrew that, put it on the, loosen have a ball mount on the front of this thing, and I can just easily undo the arm and stick the Vex on there and we can go. Going to try to figure out a way to make like an extended transducer arm, if you will, but I could power it all off of a nice old power box. So we will see. We're going to tinker around with that. I've thought about putting some lights on this thing in case I do some night fishing. I'd hate for a snowmobile to smack me while I'm sitting out there. It's pretty rare that I do any night ice fishing now. I was really heavy into it a long time ago when I was much younger. But the idea of night ice fishing is pretty small on my brain right now. Which I forgot to mention that ice camping, never done it. Crafty and I were going to do it. I've talked about that before, but it was stupid cold and he was crazy and I got mad and he got mad, and then we both realized it was a smart choice not to. But this year we've already been kind of chirping about it. And I think we're going to do some ice camping, somewhat early ice, but we're going to do an all-nighter type deal for panfish. Yeah. This body of water that we fish a lot, it's just better at night. And it's hard to stay out there at night, but if we're going to ice camp, I think we could get some absolute giant bluegills. And I really want to do that. We've got all the stuff. He's got the giant pop-ups, cots, all that stuff. So ice camping will be a thing. I'm going to try it one time. I think it'll be a good time for sure. If any of you have ever done the ice camping thing, just let me know on Instagram. I think and if you got any pointers, that would be fantastic. Speaking of pointers and ice camping, all that stuff, cruising around on YouTube, I come across Alex Trim's YouTube channel again, and he's deep in my subscriptions. But anyway, he was at that other ice fishing show that was happening Halloween weekend, same as the virtual ice fishing show, but they had a little modified section, and there was a gentleman there from was it from Staples or Stillwater? Can't remember, but he built this really cool sled with like fold out bench seats and stuff, and it also folds out into a bed for his pop-up for ice camping, all that stuff. You go check that out, Alex Trim on YouTube, and you'll find the modifications of 2022 or whatever. Really neat stuff. Really cool. I really get into that kind of deal. So, but yeah, if you've ice camped, just holler at me. Let me know, man. If you got any pointers for me, that'd be fantastic. And along with tinkering out that guide light sled, I have some repairs and some tinkering that needs to be done on the flow tube as well. So on a previous episode, I was talking about, okay, flow tubing is done. And when I got it all ready to be put away, I noticed that both sides underneath towards the front of each bladder compartment, where I had been dragging it through gravel and a little bit of parking lot, but mostly dragging it down through gravel and concrete at landings, I've kind of busted out the cover a little bit. Just the stitching came loose. So I'm going to have to figure out how to sew it, which that led me into maybe getting some Carhartt material or coming up with some sort of folding cart. Now, the flow tube does have backpack straps, but I also have a backpack full of tackle and shit. So double backpacking is pretty hard to do. So kind of got some ideas for making a folding cart. I've also found some folding dollies and stuff that could be modified, but I got to get that sewn up and fixed. And then the last thing on that for the flow tube, it will be a new fishing deck. And I found a company, they make like trays and stuff for conveyor belts for manufacturing. And they make these fiberglass trays. And I found one that's like 42 inches long. And I think it's like, 20 or 22 inches wide, which would be absolutely perfect. Now, I'd like this 42 inches so that it I'll set it up so that it kind of sticks off to my left side. And from there, I'm going to, instead of having a strap for my transducer for the little Garmin, I will build a transducer arm that folds up underneath that, or extends out, goes down in the water. And then I'm also going to run my Vexilar FLX 28 next summer. So I will probably be tinkering with that on and off, and hopefully my 3D printer will get here soon at some time. It's taking forever to come from China, but that's just the nature of the beast. I've used the brand before, and it's actually a really good printer for the price. So whenever that gets here, I can start designing some things that I might need for that. But the tray, like I said, it's fiberglass, so it's heavy duty. It's a little on the expensive side, but I think it'll be worth it. It's over $100 for this tray for just one of them. Being that I'm not a manufacturer and it's going to order 1,000 of them, I'm sure they'd be like, $15 a piece. But I'm just one guy and I only need one. So we're gonna bite the bullet and we're gonna get that tray, and I'll keep you all up to speed via Instagram as I start messing with these modifications. I'll probably start out with the mods on the old Glide Light, the Strike Master Guide Light sled. Man, somebody needs to come out with another one of these things, man. I'm just telling you, it's so fun. It's such a cool little deal. But yeah, so that's it, man. I think we're going to get out of here. We're going to call it a day. You enjoy the rest of your Monday. And, before we go, let's do one thing. Drop some dates. I'll make an Instagram post for First Ice, Northern Minnesota. We get it before the Minneapolis area gets it, but let's drop some dates. Let's have some fun. We do this, everybody does this every year. But when do you think we'll have 4 or more inches? We'll just say at least 4 inches of ice. What day are you predicting? Now I know some guys are going to be walking out on 2. That's just let's just stay safe, and let's just say 4 inches. What, drop a date, and whoever's closest, I'll send you a bunch of stickers. How's that sound? Awesome. Very cool. I'm going to finish up this strawberry sparkling water. You guys have a fantastic Monday, and we'll talk to you again real soon. Lone Angler out.